In 2022, an important change to Texas law significantly impacted how disabled veteran license plates are used for accessible parking. For many years, veterans in Texas who had disabled veteran, or DV, license plates were automatically allowed to park in designated accessible parking spaces. These spaces are reserved for individuals with qualifying disabilities and are typically marked with the international symbol of access, the familiar wheelchair symbol. Before 2022, a DV plate alone was enough to legally park in these accessible spaces, even if the plate did not display the international symbol of access. This meant that veterans who qualified for disabled veteran plates, regardless of whether they had a mobility impairment, could use accessible parking. Over time, concerns grew about whether this approach ensured that accessible spaces were consistently available for individuals with significant mobility limitations. As a result, Texas lawmakers passed Senate Bill 792, which took effect on January 1, 2022. This new law changed the requirements for parking in accessible spaces. Under the updated rules, a vehicle must display either a license plate that includes the international symbol of access or a valid disability permit featuring that symbol in order to park in designated accessible spaces. This change created an important distinction. Not all disabled veteran plates automatically qualified a vehicle for accessible parking anymore. If a veteran had a DV plate that did not include the international symbol of access, that plate alone would no longer authorize the use of accessible parking spaces. To continue parking in those spaces, the veteran would need to either obtain a new DV plate that includes the symbol or apply for and receive a disability permit. The reasoning behind this shift centered on accessibility and fairness. Lawmakers and disability advocates emphasize that accessible parking spaces are limited and are specifically designed for individuals with mobility impairments. These spaces are wider than standard parking spots and often include access aisles for wheelchair ramps and lifts. They are typically located near building entrances to reduce the distance a person must travel. When accessible spaces are occupied by vehicles whose drivers or passengers do not have mobility limitations, it can create barriers for those who rely on those accommodations. The 2022 law aimed to ensure that accessible parking remains available to veterans and other Texans who truly meet the medical criteria for mobility impairment. It is important to understand that the law did not remove benefits from disabled veterans entirely. Veterans can still obtain disabled veteran plates if they qualify based on their service-connected disability rating. However, access to accessible parking spaces is now tied specifically to whether the veteran has a qualifying mobility impairment, not solely to their veteran status. For veterans who do meet the mobility criteria, the process involves providing medical documentation. A licensed medical professional must certify that the veteran has a condition that substantially limits mobility, such as difficulty walking a certain distance without rest, reliance on assistive devices, severe visual impairment, or other qualifying conditions under Texas law. Once approved, the veteran may receive either a DV plate with the international symbol of access or a separate disability permit. Veterans who do not meet the mobility requirements may keep their existing DV plates and continue to receive other associated benefits. However, they may not park in accessible spaces unless they also have the proper plate with the symbol or a valid disability permit. The transition required many veterans to review their current plates and determine whether they needed to take action. For some, this meant applying for updated plates. For others, it meant submitting paperwork for a disability permit. County tax offices across Texas handled these updates, and veterans were encouraged to verify their eligibility well before parking in accessible spaces to avoid potential fines. Enforcement of the new rules brought greater clarity. Law enforcement officers and parking authorities now look specifically for the international symbol of access on a plate or the display of a valid permit. If neither is present, parking in an accessible space can result in citations or penalties. The 2022 law reflects a broader effort to align parking privileges with documented mobility needs. While the change required adjustment, its goal is to preserve accessible parking for individuals who depend on it most. For veterans with qualifying mobility impairments, the updated system still provides full access to designated accessible spaces. For others, it maintains respect for their service while ensuring compliance with accessibility standards. Ultimately, the change underscores the importance of balancing recognition of military service with the functional purpose of accessible parking. Accessible spaces are designed to remove physical barriers and promote independence for those with mobility challenges. By tying parking access directly to the presence of a mobility-related disability, Texas law aims to protect the integrity of these spaces and ensure they remain available for those who genuinely need them. For veterans in Texas, understanding these updated requirements is essential. Reviewing current plates, confirming eligibility, and obtaining the correct plate or permit ensures compliance with state law and continued access to accessible parking where appropriate. In the end, the 2022 change represents a focused effort to prioritize accessibility. It reinforces the principle that accessible parking exists to support mobility limitations, while still honoring and recognizing the service of Texas veterans within the structure of updated legal standards. We truly hope this video made things clearer for you. Navigating the disabled parking process can feel overwhelming, but you don't have to figure it out alone. If you need a handicapped placard or plate and want a simpler, more convenient option, visit handicappedparking.com. We connect you with licensed doctors online so you can complete everything from home without the stress or guesswork. Our mission is to make the process easier and help you gain the independence and mobility you deserve. If you're unsure about your eligibility or running into obstacles, reach out to us. We're here to help guide you every step of the way. Make sure to subscribe for more helpful information about handicap parking permits and drop your questions in the comments below. We're always glad to support our community. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.